Welcome to Essentially Her Business, where we have honest conversations with women in business so that you can derive insights to build the business of your dreams. I'm Sharon Bailey, and today I'm chatting with Jacqueline Dee, marriage celebrant, musician, artist, and I was watching Weekend Today last weekend, and they did a whole segment on laughter yoga. And I remembered you're also a facilitator.
I am a trained facilitator, yes, but haven't run any classes for some time.
So welcome, Jack.
Thank you.
Again, Jackie and I are friends because I do have a lot of business women friends. So, Jack, how did we get from music and artist to celebrant?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I did a workshop on the weekend, a breathwork workshop, and the facilitator of that program said that our story's already written. So everything that comes into our lives, we've already written into. So I think it was all destined to be. But essentially, having spent nearly 16 years in the field of family counselling, I was looking for something to sort of complement that work, which could be very heavy at times. And I'm all about relationships. I was doing marriage counselling anyway, and it sort of seemed like a natural progression for me to go into wedding celebrant work, working with couples at the beginning of their journeys, as opposed to, when things, get into a bit of trouble.
When the trauma's all happened.
Yeah.
And, things
yeah.
happen, not necessarily down the track, but,
yeah.
getting it right to start with.
That's right. And I've always just been one of those people who loves ritual. So even at a family barbecue, I'll be the one that stands up and gets everyone to raise their glasses to toast somebody for what they've just achieved. Or, I've always been someone that likes to incorporate those little rituals into our lives because I see importance and value in that. So being a marriage celebrant, I get to do that with weddings, and I'm also a funeral celebrant. So I'm largely involved in helping people coordinate end-of-life ceremonies, which is, again, just a wonderful ritual and privilege to be part of. Yeah.
And what do you love most about it all?
What do I love most? Look, I would have to say that I love the fact that I can draw on pretty much all of my skill set in this role. So there is an element of counselling. There's an element of performance that comes in with my singing and songwriting background.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to know how to project your voice. You need to sound confident. You have to ad lib, and that's kind of part of performing as well. There's an element of acting, I guess, in some ways, in being confident up there and being able to speak to people and engage people in what you're saying is a really key component to this. So, it's about relationships, family, ritual, ceremony, people, essentially. And that's been my career, is supporting, and offering people empathy and support. So
what's been your biggest challenge so far?
Biggest challenge to date would be to keep my anxiety at bay.
Which is something that people would never think, being the performer that you are, that's something that comes into it.
Yeah, look, it's not performance anxiety.
No.
Once upon a time it was. I've definitely kind of crash tackled that hurdle. I'm confident in my work. It's the anxiety of being a sole trader. And in the nature of my work is that I'm not sure when the next call's coming through. So it's the anxiety of income, being able to predict income. It's not a product where you can count how many sales you've made. It's a service. And the service is at the mercy of the demand, of what people, when people need me. So it's more about that. And of course, being a sole trader, there's no sick leave, there's no holiday leave, there's no, your superannuation's your own thing to deal with. You've got to kind of take it all on board. And I'm still at that stage in my life where I need reliable income. So it's the anxiety around, just breathe, it's going to come, just trust trust the process, trust in the quality of service you provide, and and the rest will take care of itself.
I guess it's then when you start to feel some of that anxiety, you go and do a little bit more marketing so that you feel like you've got a bit more control over it.
Yeah. Look, I know one of the things we're probably going to talk about is how I use social media, and I'm really very active in terms of my social media, appearance.
So what are you using as far as your socials go?
Yeah, look, I use predominantly Facebook, my Facebook page for my celebrant profile, and my Instagram account, and the two are linked, as we know. So one can cross pollinate the other, and I wouldn't survive without that. That's where I interact with my potential clients and past clients who then refer clients to me. So it's a really, really vital part of my work, definitely.
Are you using stories much in regards to that?
Yes, I would say every other day I have some kind of story usually linked to a post or something relevant to my client base. Yeah, no, I see that as really an essential component, and it just continues to grow. I don't do great big marketing campaigns, and I don't pay for advertising. And I know many people do in business, and I think that's wonderful. I've not felt the need to do that as yet because I feel that my followers are growing. They're at a steady pace, not rapidly, but I wouldn't expect that because I'm a wedding celebrant that does somewhere between 25 and 35 weddings a year. And funeral people are not necessary. If you just lost a loved one, you're not jumping on Instagram to talk about
No.
So it's
but it's being that front of mind already and having content in your feeds.
Yeah.
So that when people do come over, they are seeing, okay, this is what Jacki does. And and my thought had been, I always tell any clients, marketing or using particularly Facebook marketing isn't going to be beneficial unless your organic stuff is already working anyway. So it's good to see that your organics are working so that that's there should you decide to draw on it at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, Sharon, my circumstances might be quite different to a lot of other women in business in that I am a sole trader. I am the only employee in this business. So I actually can't grow my business too large because I'm only one person.
Yeah.
I can't physically take on more work than I can, so
I guess if it comes time to grow your team, it's just outsourcing those particular tasks.
Yeah.
That, which might be your marketing, it might be your bookkeeping, it might be some of your admin. But when it comes to actually performing the celebrancy side, there is only you.
Yeah, that's it. So you sort of have that's where the anxiety comes in because I'm it. And there is an I in this team,
I think most of our watchers, listeners will actually be in that same space because it is them and only them until it hits a certain stage in their business anyway. Unlike tradies and those sort of businesses where they do take on staff regardless of where their financial situation's at.
Sure.
So what role has networking played in your business?
Good question. I did actually have some thought. I did put some thought to that. And I was going to say probably not a whole lot. I attend wedding expos, and that's always an opportunity to meet other vendors. But in my line of work, I'm coming in contact with other vendors all the time. So, I rock up to a wedding and there's the photographer and there's the videographer and there's the venue coordinator and there's the florist and there's the musician. And then, so I'm always chatting and networking and we're all kind of on the same page with that. We're checking, are we following one another? are we tagging one another in our posts from this particular event so that we can all share the benefit of that? And it's the same with the funeral celebrant work as well. I'm coming into contact with funeral homes and networking with directors and arrangers all the time. So
it's still networking, even though it's not an
yeah,
actual networking event
no,
that most people are used to.
that's
It's
right.
still understanding that when these people are around, there's
Yeah.
a way to connect with them. That the
That's
whole
really
idea
important.
of networking is
Yeah.
to have other people refer you.
Yeah.
And that's what all these other vendors are really there for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think expos are really important in my line of work. There are a lot of opportunities, I must add, for celebrants to attend networking gala events and things. I don't feel an urgent sort of need to attend a lot of those things. A lot of them are interstate. There's quite a bit of expense involved in attending, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun to be part of a celebrant network, kind of learning and growing and sharing. But for me personally, I haven't really ventured into that too much, although I am attending a gala dinner in Canberra in July, which will be the 50th anniversary of the first celebrant being appointed in Australia.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I thought, you know what, I am going to go to that.
Again, it's a great way to actually connect with celebrants more than anything.
Yeah.
And I think having some of them in your network allows for that overlap as, oh, shit, I'd really like to do this, but hang on, I'll have to refer you on because I can't do that day. And having those
that's right. It is important to have a small network of celebrants that you're attached to, because if heaven forbid you are unwell and can't officiate,
oh God,
you need to ring someone and get someone in, and that's hard because we're all busy, So yeah,
I guess over COVID, of course, there were no weddings, or very small ones. But now that we're adapting to COVID within our communities, it's those sort of situations, like you say, you get sick, you can't turn up to these and do these, even if you're trying to keep a distance, it's just not fair to anybody. Right. So, yeah, having an extra, celebrant buddy that you can pass something on.
Yeah, it is important. Yeah, definitely.
What's been your biggest success so far?
What's been my biggest success? I did have an answer to that somewhere. I think my biggest success has been repeat business. Just
as in people getting married more than one. Sorry.
No, not that.
That's sort of repeat business.
Well, so I've been a celebrant for 6 years now, and I really have really kind of committed myself to the task of building a solid reputational foundation, and I think I've achieved that. I'm going to continue to do that, but now I get a constant, steady flow of work from clients who have used me and are now referring their family member or their friend, and so that that solid reputation is my biggest success. It's what keeps my business flowing. And I did win a highly commended award at the in the 2020 Bride's Choice Awards for the Illawarra and Southern Highlands, and that was only 3 years after kind of starting out. So that was a pretty exciting accolade. But I am also in the running for the Australian Bridal Industry Awards this year. So that relies on votes, and so I've been contacting past clients to see if they'd be happy to drop a line about my services and vote for me. So that could be. And look, I do think there is a lot of benefit in kind of reaching towards those sorts of goals, because they put you in good stead when people go online and read your reviews and they see that you're an award-winning celebrant. That does really matter. So that's exciting. Who knows? We'll see.
Did I not see recently that you had 100 weddings?
Yes, I've actually just completed 101.
Well done.
Which may not seem a lot, but when you're providing a service, You know, it's not a product, it's a service.
It's not just rocking up to
No.
perform the ceremony either.
It's about on average, it's about a 12-month kind of process, you know, from start to finish. And a lot of couples book their weddings at least 12 months out. Um, and yeah, so if you average that over the year, when I've been going not quite 6 years yet, so 5 years, and my first year was waiting for my first wedding to kind of, you know, arrive. So within 4 years, I think, you know, that's a pretty steady flow of work. And I'm chuffed because, as I said, I can keep up with that. You know, can't probably take on much more than that because I'd be stretching myself too thin. So it is all about discovering your capacity and understanding the right balance of work, you know, and personal life, and trying to keep all those things, you
So
know,
on that, how do
healthy.
you do that? Because I know you've got a grown-up family.
Mm.
So
And
a lot
grandkids.
of our, again, like a lot of women who go into small business have the young children at home
Yeah.
and take on a small business to be able to do all the things.
To have that flexibility. Yeah.
So with you, how do you balance life and work all at once?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great question. The benefit of being a sole trader is that I can block out time for myself. So I can look at and I do. Yeah. So regular breaks and short vacations, and planning big vacations, you know, for a year or two out, so that you're working hard towards a wonderful, you know, holiday at the end of it all. But yeah, it's important.
Goal setting again and the goal planning. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really important to have time out. And yeah, it can be when you work for yourself, and you know that anxiety creeps in and you're worried about the next, you know, month's income. You know, you can sort of have the foot on the pedal too hard, and you have to be very self-aware in terms of, you know, am I going to burn out if I keep going at this pace? Do I need to take a few days off next week and just not take on any more work? You know, and I can do that. I have the flexibility to say yes and no.
So what sort of things do you bring into your off time as far as that self-care to make sure you don't burn out?
Yeah. Being in nature, I think, is the key for me. You know, exploring new places on the coast. We love the beach, my husband and I. So being by the water, in the water, you know, walking, reading, and spending quality time with family. Because even though my kids are grown up, like you, Shaz, I've got little ones, little grandkids now. And so being with them is probably my greatest joy, you know, at this stage of life. So making sure I've got some quality time to spend with them is really important for me too.
Full disclosure, I actually had this interview booked with Jacki a week ago until we had to cancel because Jacki's daughter needed some support. And again, I guess that's, you know, whilst we think that these things only happen when the children are little, we're often called even for our big kids to be able to step in at different times.
Absolutely.
And again, you know, if we were actually out in paid employment, we can't make those choices.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, and I do sometimes sit back and go, is this harder than going and working for someone else? And you know, have those conversations with myself a lot. And you know, and then sometimes I'll even dabble in looking on seek.com and seeing what's around, but then I stop and think, could I work for someone else now? Because I absolutely love the independence and the autonomy of being a sole trader. I just, you know, and I love working from home in my home office, you know, and then I venture off and I do my work and I come back, and it's my little kind of safe house, and I really love it. Yeah.
And look, I know the exact thing you're saying. On that basis, though, with having somebody to bounce ideas off, that sort of thing, has mentorship played a role in your business? Do you have a mentor? Do you have
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So I've got a new venture that's been kind of sitting in the wings for a little while. Um, Part of the legal requirements of being a celebrant in Australia are that we must provide couples with relationship education information. So my background, as I mentioned, was marriage counselling. So during COVID, when I had time, I decided I was going to write a pre-marriage education program, which is currently called Before We Say I Do. And I do have social media presence under that name. But I guess my marketing mentor, who's helped me kind of establish that program and have the online presence of it, has actually swayed me a little bit away from that, because most couples planning to marry don't think they need any form of relationship education. And I get that. We're all caught up in the bells and whistles and the excitement. And, that's the last thing on our minds really, is that there's could be anything potentially going to come up for us after marriage. So I'm going to change the name of the program. I'm in the process of doing that now, and it's going to be called After We Say I Do. And it will be the same program. It's just going to have a different title because it has a different meaning for people. And so she has been a mentor in helping sort of me understand, what is my market? What are they wanting from me? What's the problem that I can solve for them? And people about to get married don't believe they have a problem. Okay, the problem is the cost of getting married, perhaps. But once they're married, then it's more realistic to consider that there could be some issues coming up for us now. So After We Say I Do does make sense. And I'm in the process of changing things over.
I'm a very big believer, and I cannot remember when I heard the quote, but it's something that's always stayed with me, is we don't know what we don't know. And
exactly.
Until someone can point that out to you and you go, oh, I'm aware of that now. And once you're aware of something, you can never go back. And
that's right.
Like I say, and I hate to say it, but I think with the recent season of Maths,
haven't watched it.
It's seeing some of the things that come up in relationships, not just marriages, but in all relationships, where there's got to be open and honest communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it definitely happens in marriages, but it can also happen in business relationships too. And it's, being open and letting people see your vulnerable side. What do you think sets successful entrepreneurs, and I don't always like that word, but what sets successful entrepreneurs aside from those that struggle?
Well, I can only speak for myself, of course. But for me personally, it's been very much about self-belief and conquering all of the negative self-talk that we have, the monkey brain, I call it, the one that just wants to chatter all day long and remind us how shit we are. So it's really getting a hold of that. And because self-belief is everything, and aside from that, I think it's really important for anyone going into business or a business venture is to really understand what your strengths are. Because I know that there's certain areas of work I just wouldn't go near, because I just know that would not be a good fit for me at all. I'm really clear about what my strengths are, and this role has highlighted those even more so for me. So I think when you understand what your strengths are, and you sort of focus your energies on building a business where you can use those strengths, it doesn't feel like work. That's just it. Like I actually have to stop myself whenever I use the word job, because this isn't a job. It doesn't feel like a job. It really does feel like a privilege to use my skills in the way that I use them, and I earn an income from it. But that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
And I know I was talking with my mastermind members a couple of weeks ago, is that that whole idea of success is different to most people. And we were brainstorming and throwing around the ideas to us that it's not just success, it's that fulfillment.
Yes.
And finding fulfillment in what you do.
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
if
absolutely.
you're finding fulfillment, it's, again, doesn't have to be a job.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's a gut instinct, I think. When you're doing something that's meaningful and purposeful for you, it's just a natural fit. It's, it's an alignment. Yeah.
And it lights you up. It gets you excited.
Yeah.
The hands start going when you're talking about things, and it comes from within, not necessarily without.
Yeah. And I think we've got to learn these strengths. We don't automatically know. We grow into our strengths, and that's why I think for anyone just starting out into something new, don't hesitate to learn from your experience. It might end up not being your niche, and you kind of go, oh God, that was terrible. But what did I learn from that? I've learned that my strengths are more along this line, and this is maybe where I want to go. So, I've had several careers throughout my life. I started out in the travel industry, adventure travel of all things, through Southeast Asia, backpacking and stuff. And then I went from that into counselling, where I learned enormous, knowledge about people and relationships and about myself. And then now working in the field of celebrant work, you just keep learning and you keep growing and you keep understanding more about your strengths. So don't stop. It's about the destination, the journey, not the destination. That's what I'm trying to say.
Beautiful advice. So again, what's next for the business?
Yeah, so I think what's next is to put a little bit more energy and focus into my program after we say I do.
I think that too enables you, because when you look at it, a celebrancy service is a one-off. Or you're hoping it's one-off. You don't hope you're remarrying the same person 6 or 7 times. So the course allows you to maintain contact with your clients.
Yes, that's true. And and there's benefit in that, because their children are going to get married one day, or their niece and nephew, or so it's very much about that kind of building that rapport with people, because a celebrant has a fairly unique role in a person's life. If you stop and think about it from this kind of perspective, we're there for the naming day when the baby's arrived. We're there for the marriage, we're there for the end of life celebration. It's a lifespan, relationship that some celebrants will have with families. And that's been my experience. And both professionally and personally, where I've had a previous celebrant who's now retired, sadly, who did my daughter's naming day, and then she did my 10-year wedding vow renewal, and then she did my brother's funeral. And so she has been an integral part of my family, and that's what makes this relationship a little bit unique, I think.
That's great. Yeah, and I can see that, seeing you going to, performing somebody's service for them, and seeing in the audience 3 other couples that you've already married, and 2 of their children that you've done their name days for, and the family whose grandfather you did an end of life service for. So yeah, I can see that whole connection happening.
Yeah, and because of that, it's a role where being authentic is absolutely vital.
Yeah.
Knowing who you are, what you're about, and projecting that authenticity is just, and I think that's a key to success in any business.
So where can we find you? Online?
Okay, so
online is always easiest.
Online. So my website is JacquelineDeeCelebrant.com. My Facebook is Jacqueline Dee Authorised Marriage Celebrant, because the Attorney General decided to make all celebrants have to use that terminology now. And my Instagram is Jacqueline Dee Celebrant. I'm pretty easy to find in all of those platforms.
And the course coming up will also have a link via your website.
It will, by Linktree, and it is standalone as well. It's currently before we say I do, but it will have a little name change shortly to after we say I do. Same program, however, same information. Nothing's changed.
That's cool. Well, thank you again, Jackie, for sharing your story with us. If you would like more details or to connect with Jackie, you'll find her details in the show notes below. And I want to thank you for watching this candid conversation with Jackie. We hope that her journey and insights will inspire and motivate you on your own business journey. Give us a like, because we all know that that's what helps us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sharon.
At Essentially Her Business, we believe that women entrepreneurs have the power to change the world, and we're committed to supporting you every step of the way. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interviews with successful businesswomen and other valuable content. And if you're interested in receiving personalised mentoring or in joining the group mastermind, check out the website for more information. Remember, small business may come with big challenges, but with the right mindset, resources, and community, you can achieve your dreams. Keep pushing forward, and I'll see you in the next video.